Distracted by your presence, I've never seen the likes of you. You're so fucking beautiful, babe, and you're so fucking true. I thought I knew love, but how could that be so? 'Cause what I'm feeling here and now is something I have never known. Attracted to your energy, excited by your smile. You're so fucking gentle, baby, you're so fucking kind. How could I have lived my life and instead I'm so fine? I had almost given up on making such a found.
When I was young, it was more about achievement, and now it's more about expression. And that's, I think, the gift of aging, is that you can kind of see things for how they are, not as idealistic, but yet not totally cynical.
I think some women artists have done some of their best work as they get older. I look at someone like Elizabeth Catlett, who I always loved her work when I was in school, and she's still alive. I think she's in her 90s, still very active. I see all these women artists who, I think it's because they're creative maybe, that this energy keeps them going. You know, they have a reason to get up every day, and that reason to get out of bed, that, you know, I have something I need to do, there's unfinished business. I think that just keeps them young, it keeps them fit, keeps them mentally engaged, and so I hope I do get to that point.
Right now, I have kind of a family crisis. My mother has Alzheimer's disease, and so at first I think a lot of families go through where they fight against it and they try to do everything to stop it, and then after you live with it a while, you realize you have to live with it and understand it and be accepting of it and try to find the funny side to it, and that's how you get through it. I feel like in my mid-30s probably. It's amazing because when I was younger, of course, I thought 53 was, I'd be ready for a walker. I really hope that, when I'm 93, I feel like I'm 63,
I'm 60-ish. Or just the age thing, I'm just not accepting it well, because like for most of my life, I was the youngest in my family. I was the youngest in this group. I was the youngest in my class. I was the youngest. And then more recently, my social life has circled around younger people, and so I'm feeling older, and I'm really feeling that. The years, but inside, I'm still as young as or younger than a lot of the people I'm with. So it's been really hard for me as I've hit more into my 50s to accept it.
Your talents develop as you get older, you're exposed more, you learn more. You know, you learn good and bad things, and you know, I think you just mature. I'm not one of these people that's afraid to grow old. I know that a lot of artists, men and women, usually their talents really develop as they get in their 60s and 70s. And I believe that I was very fortunate to have a little bit of success and when I was younger. And I get excited to watch my work evolve, and I feel it evolves almost every day. So I can hardly wait to see what it is when I'm 80. And I also know that people talk about retirement all the time, and artists never retire. I don't ever plan on retiring. I will paint to the day I die. And I look forward to the future. I'm excited about growing older as a woman. And I think there's more opportunity for women now that there used to be. So I think the sky's the limit. I'm very excited. I hope I live to be 190.
I suppose since I've been 50, I enjoyed my 50th birthday party because I felt that there's less to worry about. I was already done taking care of my daughter. I was, you know, I feel like I've come back in the same hood that I grew up in, and to pick up, and it's not to start over, it's more to pick up where I left off. None of my parents even reached 70, so that's another thing that, I mean, it does have an impact. I don't know if songwriters are a different breed and that they think about stuff like that more than other people. You know, that is getting old and getting, you know, because people don't like generally talk about it.
I am an old woman named after my mother. My old man is another child that's grown old. When I was a young girl, I had me a cowboy. He wasn't much to look at, but he was a free, rambling man. Oh, but that was a long time, and no matter how I tried, the years, they just roll by like a broken down dam. I remember getting up and singing for the class, so I think I was always wanting to be a singer, just something that was inside of me. Certainly I came up listening to Barbra Streisand, Joni Mitchell, Carole King, and then as I grew older, I love Dinah Washington, huge Billie Holiday fan, listening to those singers. I don't think I'm one that wants to try to stay young, look like I did, although it was nice to be cute and wear all the cute little fashions. It's more difficult, I think, in the business, and 50, now that I'm 50 and a little older than 50, I'm finding I can't just go out and buy the cute little things and wear them because I think they look ridiculous. I mean, I'm trying to age gracefully. So it's a struggle, but it's one that I'm up for. Certainly it's not easy, and particularly at this time, I think, well, America's always been so youth-oriented. Some of the physical stuff is hard. Some of the hot flashes are difficult, and some of those physical changes I'm finding a challenge. But as I say, I think attitude is everything. So I'm trying to keep that positive mental attitude going. I try not to take anything really too seriously. Sit, buddy. Can you sit down? Sit down. Make me a poster
never took into naming guitars until I saw Neil Young on TV, and he was doing Austin City Limits or something, I don't know, it was something in Nashville, and he had names for all his guitars. Now, this one doesn't have a name, and I'm still working on it. That one next to you right there, that one goes back in my family quite a while. My brother played it. His name is Ed. This is my brother's name. I didn't get a guitar until I was like 16. It was from my sister's sorority sister. So, and it cost all of $20, probably something like that they gave me. And but I'd been interested in music before then, and I grew up with music. My dad sings, my mom sings. My dad always, I think, wanted to be probably a big band singer. And I have recordings of him, and I have recordings of me when I was 5 years old singing. So, but I do remember playing with pretending a tennis racket was a guitar. I worked for 15 years in a hospital as a medical photographer. So, but I always wanted to do music, and now I'm almost 60, and so I'm doing it finally. It took a long time. I mean. I learned to play guitar, but I didn't write good songs until the last 10 years. I play 6-string, 12-string, I play the harmonica, I play the piano a little, more as a musical instrument to help me with theory, or to help me just think something differently, think a guitar thing, a guitar part or something differently. It might come out different on a keyboard than it would on a fretboard. I'm trying to learn slide guitar and stuff now. I'm getting old. I have arthritis in my hands and stuff, and that's one way to really play without stressing your fingers out. Around town, of course, from Akron is Chrissie Hynde. And that, that was a really influential, it was. I just liked her. She was great. She played like a guy. Everybody says, I play like a guy. Animals, 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 all are we. I heard you kicked the bottle, you helped build the church, you carry an honest wage. Is it true you have somebody keeping you company? What do you say when it's all gone away, baby?
Well, I was born and raised here, but I've been out in Arizona for about 12 years. The economy I lost, in short. I lost my job, my condo, all my family's here. I was in a band with my brothers probably, 15 years ago. It was Relative Harmony, because it was all relatives. The band now is Amethyst. Totally loving it, because it's so many different kinds of music. Old standards and blues and a little bit of classic rock, and I like the old standards from the aspect of it's all the different chords and some jazzy chords, and Marilyn's teaching me a lot, and I think I'm showing her a little bit of different stuff as well, so we're learning from each other. So it's a very cool thing, and I wish I would have done this years ago. That I'm learning so much just in the past 2 years that I never did back then. I just sat around at the campfires, played the same old stuff. I set my guitar in its case, and it sat there. I was unhappy with me, depression, and once I got out, I was 215 pounds. I was a miserable person. Just horrible times.
And it's funny, you know, we just started. We just fell together. Amy, Al. Amy saw me one night at an open mic and said, you know, I wish I had somebody who could sing like you. My dad, I'm trying to help my dad with his condo meeting. We need a performer. I went, we did it, and the three of us just sort of clicked. And that was a year ago, and it has developed. We added Frank, and then we added Marilyn, and we're still playing together and just having a good time. It's fun. A few years ago, I went to a songwriters and singers retreat, and it just started a new page in my life. And I've been singing a lot more and doing lead singing, which was rare for me in the past. I was less active with it in my life when I was married. I feel like I started this so late in my life, my real passion, you know. And now it's not even full time. You know, I work a 40-hour job. People who work with me or just know me in other circumstances, in other parts of my life, and then they see me on stage and they just, that's what they say. They say, wow, I didn't know you had that in you. I didn't know that was you. Another side, a whole other side of you, you know. And I like that. I'm glad. You know, that pleases me. Come home, I have a telephone, no message flashing there. You stay silent for so long, it's like you never care. Well, I don't care for you either, baby. No, I never care for you either, baby.
Portraits for me are based on memory. They're based on snapshots of various women within my community. So it could be my grandmother's eyes, my mother's lips, my neighbor's smile, any of those things that make up who these women are. So they're not exactly a portrait of one woman, but they're a portrait of many women. The women in my life, growing up, my grandmothers, my aunts, the women in our neighborhood, they all helped to raise us. You know, it wasn't just your mother raising you or your grandmother raising you. It was the lady down the street that was raising you. When you did something in the neighborhood that you weren't supposed to do, you know, any person on the street, which was typically women at home, they had the right to chastise you and teach you better, or, you know, arm you up and hug you and love you. So I don't think that they're invisible. I see them. I've always seen them, and I think I'll continue to see them. And many of the people in my family are artists. They draw, they paint, they make things. So growing up, it was just part of life. It was just something that you did. So there was never really a big deal that was made out of it, but it was just something that you woke up with every day. So I knew, you know, from the age of 5 that I was going to be an artist. I didn't quite understand how or what I would be doing, but I knew that it would be in the area of art. I think I will always live as an artist in all capacities of my life. Everything that I do in life is about creating and helping others to create and inspiring others to create. So when I'm 80 or 100, I see myself still creating art and helping others to create art.
And I work as a medical social worker and decided about 2002 that I wanted to get into art and pursue something that I was afraid to pursue when I was younger. So I came back to art school and decided I would have my art degree before I was 50. And that is in a year from now. So I'm really working hard right now to get to close to 50. So my grandmother, I would think, was the biggest influence in my, she was in the French Resistance with her husband, and she was very outgoing, and I don't know, I like the word effervescent to describe her. She was not your usual grandmother. And she was French, and so there's this kind of There's a narrative that I grew up with that I don't know if it's real or not, what's truth and what isn't truth, but it's very intriguing and full of mystery and danger and fun and exotic locales, and so that kind of feeds my imagination. This is water-based oil, and it's an abstraction from a still life that I have to this day painted 16 times. This is a cow skull that's been abstracted, and there's a lot of other elements in here. So it's not an abstract visual anarchy, it's an abstract that comes from something in life.
I had a friend in elementary school who I thought drew really well. I mean, she could draw horses and people, and in about 5th grade, I thought she was the best. So I wanted to draw like her. And she didn't have any particular tips to tell me about how to get better, but I would just watch her. And then at the end of that school year, she transferred to another school. So I'm like, well, maybe if I just watch TV and practice from drawing the people on TV, or if I draw pictures I see in the magazine, maybe that will help me draw like Maria. And then when I graduated from graduate school, I worked as a commercial artist or a graphic designer. And I felt a little bit in a rut maybe with working all day at my job, and then when I come home, I was exhausted. And I also did some freelancing, so my weekends were also tied up. So I didn't have any time for my own work. So when we moved here, I actually did have time to then devote to, well, what do I want to do? I mean, eventually I found Silver Point, which is what I'm doing now. And I saw an exhibition at the Art Center that was devoted entirely to Silver Point back in 1986. And when I saw it, I thought, oh, this is perfect. This is a perfect drawing medium. I just have to learn how to do it. So I taught myself how to do that, and I've been focused on that ever since. So yeah, it's really different. I had no clue I'd ever be doing Silver Point as my focus, and that drawing would be the focus, because I always thought it was going to still be printmaking. When the kids were young, we included them with the art activities. So if we had an exhibition, we would just pack up everybody and we would go, and they would, help us in the gallery, put work up, and they would see it all, and we'd have to balance that with maybe a trip to the zoo. Or I think we're at a good point in our lives where we can really focus now more on the art making and just kind of enjoying it. Not that we weren't enjoying it while we were raising kids, but your time gets a little bit different. And so we're able to focus more a little bit.
When people come in here, they think, oh my gosh, she's got all these computerized stitches in that. But it's not about computerized stitches. I don't want to have those. If I had them, then my work would look like something that came out of China. When I was a toddler, I found my Aunt Anna's sewing kit in her closet. And I had a brand new dress on my mom had just bought me. And I rearranged it a little bit. I got the scissors and the buttons and the thread and started sewing. And when my mom and my Aunt Anna found me in the closet, my Aunt Anna was delighted. My mom was furious, but I didn't connect the art world to the sewing until I was 50. After 36 years, the newspaper had become my center of gravity. When I left the paper, I did leave on my own terms, but I didn't even know I needed a studio. I had never thought about it. I had never anticipated retiring because I wasn't as old as I was. I mean, in my mind, I'm nowhere near my age. I might be 40, maybe, 39, I mean, that's about how I feel. People don't understand textile art or fabric art or quilt art, as I call it, because they think it should be in a frame or it should be under glass. It's not real art, or it should be useful. But, you know, and so it's my job to explain to them that this is about the interplay of light and shadow on the surface of the cloth, and it's an expression of beauty or power. Make confetti-sized pieces. Sometimes I cut them into matchstick shapes, and you end up developing an entire palette. Just like a painter has paints, so do I, only my paints are dry. And here's some that I cut up in toothpicks, and that gives a different look. I studied this technique with a Japanese artist. Her name is Noriko Endo. I'm 63. I'm going to be 64 any day now. No, time never stands still for me. I was born in the city, but I have a global viewpoint. I've done some international travel. I always planned to leave the city, but I was always so busy that I never got around to it. I have wanderlust. You know, I always want to know what's around the next corner. I'm not afraid to try new things. I never had time to get old. I just didn't, and I don't feel old. And now I'm getting a few things, you know, health things that are things that are age-related. And it's really kind of disenchanting, you know, but my attitude is that I'm probably going to be able to figure out a way to beat it.
This is what I'm currently working on. Right there's one rendition of it, but the final one, this one's called the Tally Birds, Bean Counters, and the final one will be much taller, and then it'll have another plate, and I decided to go take it even further with a little bit of a fairy tale. I was thinking Jack and the Beanstalk, and we'll have a goose at the top and maybe a monotype beanstalk. So this will be a layered print, and I expect this image will probably be about that high. So I've been playing around with geese, drawings of geese, and trying to figure out how to put them above that, and possibly still use the numbers, maybe not. The numbers are on another plate. My degree's in education, and then I went back and got it in art, but I really prefer to work for myself. It's hard if you have a family, and even if you're teaching, to do any of, or much of your own work. It's really, you know, the time constraints. I painted for quite a while, but I think it's the graphics influence. I always go back to the black and white. I just really like black and white, and I like the, if even a tiny little print like any of these, or this is small, I mean this is small. It looks really simple, but the thought process that goes into it, I like that. I like that, arranging items and getting the spacing to my satisfaction. And that probably does, I've never really thought about it a lot, probably goes back to graphic work. I always do a lot of blackbirds. I started doing blackbirds with this series right here, and it's also in the hall. This one actually went with Mussorgsky's Pictures in an Exhibition. This, their eyes are the notes to the promenade music. They're in the right spots. I've always, at least the last 20 years, been involved with arts groups here. Both Artists of River City, you may have seen their little gallery on the 3rd floor of the box. I was very involved in that as it started. This year I've had to step back from quite a few things. He died 3 months ago. So, and he got very ill New Year's Eve, totally unexpected, and died June. 6 months. He was hospitalized. He was home for a couple weeks from infections, and the stress and worry. And 3 months, I think I'm starting to get back into the swing of it, although I have avoided, I kind of avoided big social things. I mean, he was my best friend, so I always think, oh, I need to tell Jean this, or I should ask Jean this. You still find yourself doing that, and it's, well, he may be listening, but he's not answering. I have to be doing something creative. Now, it doesn't have to be, in the studio. It could be in the garden or redoing the home or anything. But if I'm not doing something creative, I get really depressed. So I think that's probably the biggest impetus, is that I just feel I have to do it.
I love using these in my work. I have a series called the Age of Wonder series.
Okay.
Like this is an Age of Wonder series. I use found objects sometimes. And so I'll incorporate these into the canvas or the painting and things like that. And so I love collecting these. It's some paint, real thinly spread paint, and I peel some sections off and then reincorporate it, kind of like a collage effect, but it's done with paint instead of paper and things like that. Well, I was always drawing and painting as a child. And I took my first art lesson when I was 14. And so I had a lot of encouragement from my father, my grandmother, people like that. And I went to college and decided I wanted to be an artist, and flunked out because I wasn't serious, and went and worked for several years, about 10 years, and came back and was very serious. And I was always painting along the way. And so, I really stuck with it and just let it flow, and one thing happened after another. I went into advertising years later. My paintings were still selling. I was able to finally quit my job and be a full-time painter in 1997. There were two women in my life that impressed me a great deal. They weren't in their 80s when I was a child, but they were a great deal older. It was my grandmother and her best friend, QV. Her name was Queen Victoria. And she would help my grandmother out and things. She was an African-American woman, and my grandmother was a widowed woman at the time, and they were very good friends. And they were my grandmother raised me. And so my grandmother's mother was an artist from Old Washington, Arkansas. And so they both encouraged me in the arts a great deal, and basically taught me not to see color, not to judge people. It was a little more difficult, especially back then, for women in society, and they really taught me to do the right thing in life and try to be a good person, and yet be proud to be a woman. And I respect them for that. I really thank them for that. When I was in college, I was not doing very well in painting class at all. I didn't go to class. I got bored, didn't go. And I just gave her a ride home one day, and her son had taken an old screen door off the front of her house that was blue, and he set it to the side for the trash truck. And I had jury coming up. It was my senior year in college, and so I had this great idea to paint her, because she was so influential in my life, to paint her behind the door. And I asked her if I could have the door and if I could take a photograph of her, and she said yes. And so I skipped 3 more days of school and painted her behind the screen door, and I got an A in painting class. I just did a mural down by the bicycle trail, which was very, very large. It had 11-foot silhouettes of people running and jogging and things like that.
I helped do every figure, and I was usually up on the ladder doing the top part, and she did the bottom part. When I graduated college, I thought I might try my hand at some cartooning. didn't have anybody to learn from, just you know, dove into it. So I took all the cartoons that I sold and came up with a central female character and 2 kids, and called it Francie, and it was about a single mom and her 2 children. And it was syndicated, and from 1986 to 1996, my mom raised 2 teenage girls by herself. So, you know, you hear the old saying, write about what you know, and, you know, I had some little funny stories to, you know, convey. But it's really an occupation where you just have to jump in there and do it yourself without really any, I don't know, education. As far as having a teacher, you really can't go anywhere and have someone teach you how to do it. I hike a lot. I try to eat healthy. I do artwork. I do cartooning. I try to get involved with my community, try to help out other people. Try not to think about your own problems so much. I try to breathe. Occasionally I'll go to the Buddhist center, you know, and try to live in the moment. And that's really all you can do. I think if you just follow those basic rules, you'll be happy. You shouldn't put limitations on yourself. Just do what you want to do with the time you have. Because if you know, kind of conform to society's rules, you're going to miss out on a lot. So that's my advice.
Time, and I've been playing in public since I was, I guess, 20. I just turned 45, and for a long time it really bothered me because I thought, God, I'm getting older, you know, I shouldn't really pursue music. It's a young person's game. But the more I've been around, the more I really realize, and especially in rhythm and blues, that the older you get, the better you are, the better you get. I think it was probably discovering Bonnie Raitt for me during college. Somebody turned me on to some Bonnie Raitt music, and it was, I listened to one of her more pop albums, which I had never really heard music like that before, but I was real interested in it. And she came to Little Rock one time and played an acoustic show before she kind of hit it big back in the 80s. And so I went to go see her at a really small venue, and she played acoustic. And she had an acoustic upright bass player that played with her. And she started playing this blues, and I was electrified. And I didn't sleep for like 3 days. I had never seen anything like this. This woman was getting up there just kicking ass. It was probably because of her I related to who she was, a white woman interested in the blues, and because of her I was able to go back and discover all these other blues masters like Robert Johnson and Howlin' Wolf and Son House. I was born down in the Delta, and that's where I paid my dues, yeah. Yeah, it's 100 degrees up in the shade of the trees, and it's hot like the devil's tattoo. And they're all hollering and chopping and shouting, baby. I said, well, as they work it too, I said, well, Lord, have mercy, baby, I am the blues. I spent 15 years up in Parchment, y'all, now, for practicing voodoo. I mix a good Badassa with the elephant the cockroach. Lord, he goes over in Oklahoma County yard. It's all covered in kudzu. I said, well, Lord, have mercy, baby, I am the blues. And so, you know, the longer I go on in life, I realized those were the things that it's about. When I was 23 years old, that wasn't what it was about to me. You know, it was about my ego and singing and rock and roll and, you know, being a local star of some sorts. 30 was a big deal for me because I was like, well, if I hadn't made it by 30, I'm not going to, you know, make it. But then you have people like, you know, Bonnie Raitt. She's just a perfect example. She picked up all her big Grammys when she was after her 40s. To me, it's something that I'll always do. I think my writing has gotten better. My writing will get better as I can focus more on those things in life that really mean something. But I heard Paul McCartney say something a couple of months ago in an interview that blew my mind. He goes, you know, when I pick my cord up and I plug it into my amp and it crackles and it does that noise, he goes, I still get such a thrill out of that. Just as much as I did when I was 16 years old plugging it in. And I was just like, yeah, I'm never going to lose that. I mean, that is flipping those switches and stomping on those guitar boxes and, you know. They just need to make the LED screens a little bit bigger for me now. Well, this road that I will walk is long, but the blues is done made me strong. You know that many are called, but the chosen people, they are few. Well, when I die and I get up to heaven, I'm gonna be taking off my walking shoes, yeah. I'm gonna be resting my head. The life I led and all of the things that I had to do. They're gonna be an old man, being on 6-string, and people he just trying to spread the news. I said, well, Lord, have mercy, people, I am the blues. All right.
Grüß Gott,